Hi, I'm Brian McEwen. I am the Vice President of Exploration Development for Golden Arrow Resources. We're part of the Grosso Group of companies under the watchful eye of Joe Grosso, who's very well known in the mining industry and very big successes working in Argentina over the last 25 years. As a Golden Arrow, we've been very successful too. Back a few years ago, we monetized a project that we developed developed to the pre-feasibility stage, and then we sold that off to SSR Mining, which gives us some money to look a little bit further afield. And we've got a new project that I'd like to talk about. Successes were in Argentina in the past, very successful, and with that money, well, we've kind of thrown the net a little wider, looking for an advanced project, and we find ourselves with a very attractive project right now in Chile. It's a copper project, advanced, that I'd like to spend most of the day talking about today, if that's okay with you.
Certainly is. We love a copper story. Nothing wrong with that. Good to see you on the show, Brian. I haven't seen you for a couple of years. You've had your head down. Looking at the share price, it's kind of been moving sideways since then. It's been sort of difficult markets, and even today there's a kind of slight disconnect between equities and some commodity prices. So, would love to talk to you about your new project. I think San Pietro is what we're talking about in Chile for sure. Maybe give us a little bit of background about why go diving into Chile, given the kind of narrative that's going on around, you know, nationalization, socialism, and everything else that could be putting off investors.
Well, we've been looking, as I mentioned, the success with the Grosso Group, and it's not just focused in Argentina, although that is kind of our nerve center there. We're very well established, but we've been looking at all of the countries around there and spending some time. And in Chile, where I've had a lot of my experience, you know, it is where the best copper projects is, the best mining, and they've got a real history of mining and mining development. And you know, so when we got on the ground there and we could move projects very quickly there, and we've looked at a lot of things, and this particular project looks interesting to us. You know, we get asked that a lot about what's going on with the nationalism of some of the mining entities and stuff in Chile. That's a very small. What our lawyers and legal people are telling us is that that's a small group that are pushing for this, and it's very unlikely that will go ahead. When people ask me that question, I said, you know, you look at what Teck is doing; they're still going ahead with QB2, Capstone, the project that we border on. They're still going ahead with the development of their mine. Their stocks are all staying very strong. I think when you look worldwide, the problems that countries have. I mean, look at how hard it is in Canada to get a pipeline built. It's difficult everywhere. And in Chile, you know, we're there now, and we're going to see it through. But I hope this all settles down. I hope there's something that can get talked about and people can put that on the side. But I think that in the end, the success of Chile is because they've taken this kind of capitalist view of things in the past and developed, and it's Chile is like way different than being in any other country in South America when you travel there, and the way people are. So,
but I've got more good news.
We're still very bullish.
I've got more good news for you, Brian. We had one copper CEO talk to us this morning. So just come back from CESCO, which is the kind of the conference over there, and the Minister of Mines said we have no intention to nationalize, and Codelco, I think, are obviously offloading some of their non-core assets. That's the national mining company, and offloading some of their non-core assets to private companies. There we go. Great news. So right, okay. So now I just wanted your take on that. Why you would go for that? Make things difficult? Because you know, as part of the Grosso Group, you're used to working in Argentina. You've had some success there, but so jumping into Chile, where perhaps the narrative isn't so strong, was a kind of big move. Tell me this. I'm really interested in your model, okay? Because if I look back at the Chinchillas deal with SSR, right? It's a 44 million bucks Canadian in a combination of cash and shares, and I think it's a cancellation of some shares as well. That on the paper looks like a great model, but you're sitting today with a market cap of 20 million bucks with 15 million bucks of cash, right? So I'm trying to work out are you just going to replicate the Chinchillas deal, with this Chilean copper project? In which case, how do you get the market to recognize the value of what you're creating there in terms of advancing these projects?
Well, boy, that's a lot in that question. But when we started working in Chias, we knew that there was an obvious person there that we wanted to make the deal with, and the deal ended up being much better than the $44 million because there was money paid up front. So it was closer to 65 in the end. But that really is the model we want. And the model is not the fact that there is the project right beside is that we're very good at moving projects forward. And to take a project from, like with Chinchillas, to take it from drill holes to an operating mine in 6 years, that's just unheard of. People don't do those things very often. But so we see a project with a lot of merit, and we believe that we can advance that quickly, that we can get it to the pre-feasibility stage, and the project is we've got a 500 million ton mine on the west, and then a 500 million ton mine on the east. So we're sitting in the middle of 1 billion tons of reserve that are being developed, and we have all the property, 18,000 hectares in the middle. So I think that it won't take much for us to make this start to look good and get the attention of the market. We're in a very, very good spot. Right,
but again, I'm going to come back to the model though, because if I look, you're telling me that the Chinchillas deal was $65 million, right? That's a lot of money, but 20 million market cap here, and share price, which was whatever, 20 nearly 30 cents when we spoke 2 years ago, it's 18 today. So I'm trying to work out how the investor, benefit from deals like that. Is it just a question of scale? Is it a question of, that was a deal which we needed to invest in the rest of our portfolios that was plowed back into the company? Where's the upside for me? When I'm looking in here, I want to see that this model works.
It's an incredibly good question, and one that we need to spend more time explaining. Right now, we've got this good project, and we had the good project at Chinchillas, and people look at that and they say, well, what's the urgency to get into this? And that's up to us to get out there and to show what we've got and how that can move forward and actually, be something where people like yourself or anybody else wants to say, you know what, these guys are actually trading at their market cap or with their cash value right now. This is a really good time to get in with a bit of a long-term vision. And that long-term is not that long. We're talking, once we start putting drills in the ground within a year and all those kinds of things, and we'll start getting a lot of attraction. It's now as you want to get in. And if people look at what the Grosso Group has done in the past with the success, not only on Chinchillas, but other projects, we've got a very strong technical team, a very strong business-minded team that are able to do those kind of deals, experience in M&A and those things. So we're out talking to people, knocking on doors. We're doing what we can to move the project forward. But the actual business model of taking something at a kind of a that we see as geologists and engineers that has a lot of potential and add value to it to make it really attractive, and then let it go at the pre-feas or PEA or whatever stage that it is what we do.
Yeah, but again, I was just trying to work. I understand the theory of it, right? In terms of moving along the kind of value curve and creative value and any of those wonderful phrases that we all like to use. But I'm trying to understand what it means for me. So if I look at the Grosso Group, you have some great successes there over a period of time operating in Argentina, and it's not easy operating in Argentina. It hasn't been. With Chinchillas, for instance, so $65 million value that has been paid for that thing. So where did that go? Was there dividend paid to shareholders? How was the money used to create future value?
Well, we had to pay off some debts and other things that we had in there. But if you go back to your $44 million case or whatever it is, we've spent a lot of time looking at other projects. We're drilling on a project in Paraguay. We're drilling on a project in Santa Cruz right now. We've looked at a bunch of other things. And actually, an interesting point is that when we started looking at this project in San Pietro, the SSR shares were trading at around $18, $19. By the time we closed the deal, it was trading at 26 or 27. So that $7 or $8 differential that we gained in leveraging the shares at that time and selling them later on, that actually covered the whole price of the deal with San Pietro. We never spent any of the money that we have. So we have the same amount of cash that we did in September, and we have this project to advance.
Right, but likewise, I'm trying to work out again, as a shareholder, why do I come into a company like yours with a model like yours? Some people like prospect generators or project generators or explorers, and they need somewhere they're walking into. So you are a little bit of project generation, but you're a little bit of trying to be late stage exploration. Are you? How do you describe yourselves?
We are. Let me see if I can explain that. We are project generators, and we've been looking at so many projects over the last few years. A lot of them we talk about. A lot of we put out in the press release. A lot of them we don't. And in all of that, because we're kind of we're a junior company, but we're kind of an advanced junior company. We've been around. The company's been around 25 years. It's got a lot of history. A lot of junior companies kind of come and go. We've kind of stayed the time, and now we found this project we believe is an advanced project that we can move forward. We're not going to be jumping around as much as we were. So you go back to the question of why should I invest now? Is that the bottom line?
Well, yeah. I was kind of working out what you were, because there's multiple projects, a big portfolio project. I don't actually know where to look, which country to look at, let alone which assets to look at. And for a small company, it's kind of confusing because I don't know where you're going to spend your money, time, and effort, and therefore likelihood of success. You're
100% correct. And when we do these presentations and we talk about our first project, people get their attention. Second, by the time we get to the third project, we've kind of lost their all attention, right? And so I don't talk about those things too much anymore because. Well, when you're in exploration business, I mean, that's what you do, right? You're looking, and if it doesn't work out, you move on to the next one, and you've got to do that. And so when you're talking to investors, you got to show them you're doing that and that the money is being well spent. And I can show you all of the things that we've done over the last, few years doing that.
But so why don't we do that for this conversation then? Okay, let's assume the portfolio is kind of parked up, and you'll kind of pull out the relevant asset at the right time. You want to focus right now 100% on San Pietro, which is sort of a project north of Santiago in Chile on the coastline. So why don't you tell us about that? Okay, you're after copper. Is there anything else there?
Yeah, well, that's what I just to finish out that last thought. I agree that you have to give investors. I mean, I think you were talking to, Nico on Blue Sky earlier, and they've got a good one project. They talk about the one project. That's what people understand when you talk about Blue Sky. It's their project. When we were working on Chinchillas, we were still working on 4 or 5 other projects, but we spoke about Chinchillas. And now that we've got a project that is more advanced, we want to talk about San Pietro because we're very excited. It's an IOCG iron-oxide copper gold project. Like all of the big mines in that area, as I mentioned, we're sitting in the middle of 1 billion ton reserves, and iron oxide copper gold. So we've got gold credits, but the real, people have looked at this before and they evaluated this. This used to belong to Sumitomo, and when they evaluated this project back in 2010, 2012, they're evaluating only as a copper project. And you can see that by their assays and how they approach the project. And as a matter of fact, when Capstone picked up the Santo Domingo project to the east of us, made a deal with Far West. It was a copper project that didn't fly on the copper alone, and even the gold. Back then, copper was I don't know what it was exactly, but it was a lot lower than what it is right now. And so what happened was Santo Domingo or Capstone went back and looked at their project and looked at the cobalt. There's very, very high cobalt numbers in the project. And so now they've actually tagged on a cobalt circuit to the end of or a roaster and a cobalt circuit and making sulfuric acid and all that kind of stuff. But that's very amenable to our project as well, where we've got very high cobalt numbers. So project's never been evaluated from a cobalt point of view, and only in one area of the project was kind of being drilled off. We've got 18,000 hectares, and all these other areas have got very little drilling, no evaluation of cobalt, no evaluation of the iron, and very little work on the gold. So we think that there's a big opportunity to go in there and look at those other minerals and elements that could be, mined at a profit, and it changes the outlook of the whole project. I mean, copper right now, or cobalt right now, is I think $80,000 a ton. It works out to $45 a pound. It's 10 times the price of copper.
Yeah, it's gone on a real tear this year, as is copper, quite frankly.
And iron too.
And iron, yeah, of course. So there's a lot going on in the metals market at the moment, which do you favor, and some timing's everything sometimes. You're in the right district. You're kind of you're talking about Santo Domingo, and then you've got Monteverde Project below you, but you're kind of in the right part of the world for sure. So in terms of neurology, great. But what do you know about that? Because you've got a big land package. So what's happened? What money's been spent to discover what so far, which leads you to believe that this could be a good one?
Well, the cost, Summa told me in our valuation of our due diligence, they spent $15 million US drilling the project off. And again, it was all drilled on the east side of the property to look at copper. We've gone back and we've looked at the geophysics. We believe that there's deeper targets that they didn't drill deep enough for some of the deeper targets. There was never evaluation of the cobalt. There was never really a serious look at the copper and other parts of the mine. Where this even gets a little bit sweeter is that there's a bunch of projects that are held by third parties within our concession area and just outside the concession area, and we've signed confidentiality agreements with those, so we could actually end up picking up all the property in between. And so you've got a billion tons going into operation. There's Candelaria and other mines in the area. I don't think there's a more dense place of mines anywhere in the world than that part of Copiapó. It's awful to look at. I mean, wonderful if you're a geologist or an engineer, but I mean, there's a lot of mining going on, and they've got a desalination plant. They've got all of the power there. They've got able workforce. All of everything's there, and it's just right at the side of the road. I mean, as far as infrastructure and potential, I don't think that it could get better.
So you can plug into the existing infrastructure around not just transportation, energy, but water, and are people an issue there in terms of recruitment?
No, there's a lot of people, mining people in Chile and in Copiapó, and a lot of supply companies. We had no problem getting drilling people and assay labs and all of the things that are required. It's a pleasure to be working in a place like Copiapó as opposed to the high Andes at 5,000 meters, where it takes you forever to get a drill rig up there, and then the water trucks and things are freezing and you've got no power. I mean, everything costs so much more. When you're developing in an area with really good mining infrastructure, it's a breeze.
It is a breeze, and you got a nice amount of cash on the balance sheet as well at the moment. So that makes life. Well, it gives you options in terms of what you decide to do. So how are you coming at this project? What's the sort of on the agenda for this year?
We when we did our due diligence, we found some things going through the data that we didn't quite agree with, and so we want to go back and look at that. We want to make sure that all of the 30,000 meters of core has been logged properly, and get somebody else having an interpretation on the geophysics. There's been a lot of work done, and also with these surrounding properties and properties in there. See that they've got there's other drilling that these other companies have done that's never been incorporated at all into the database. We're going to take a while to just get everything organized, and then we've got a plan of geophysics and the surface mapping. A lot of this area had never really been looked at seriously. There was a real focus just on this one area. So, I think we want to understand what we've got, and when the time is right, we want to drill holes in the right spot and then start building this thing up. And there was resource numbers done that I don't even want to talk about. Well, mostly because I can't, but we prove up those resource numbers and show people that this is real. It's got a shot, not only to be incorporated, but as a standalone operation.
Well, that's the interesting bit here, because you talk about what's going on in Paraguay, Argentina, but you indicate that you got some drilling to do in Argentina. Yet we're also talking about being focused, and focused in terms of the narrative, but focused in terms of the application of the cash you've got available to you. So how do you play it? Do you spin this out? Do you spin the other projects out? Do you park them up? I mean, what are the conversations at board level about how you play this for the market?
Our job in the business is to make money for our shareholders, and so we've got to take whatever the best path forward. And there's some other things that are going on in the company that I can't talk about right now about spinning out other properties and things that are going on. I mean, some very exciting things. And when the right offer comes along, when the right opportunity comes along, then we do it and we move on. We don't really want to be developers. We think we can take things right to that point of view and then have people come in. I mean, miners, like building the mine, but we look at Paraguay. Paraguay is very interesting. We have a lot of property there. We're just getting the results back from the drilling, and we're drilling now, as I mentioned, in Santa Cruz. Like I say, we've got other things going on, but we're just trying to say, okay, this is going to be our focus now. And so the shareholders and people like you, that we're not, well, I thought they had a project here, I thought they had a project there, and say, this is what we're focusing, and this is how we're going to move forward.
Okay, because like I guess I'm still a little bit confused, and it'll be me maybe not understanding what you're saying, because if you're saying we need to get focused and we're going to, we're going to kind of clean up house. We're going to be really clear with the market what we're doing. And I'm hearing Chile is what you're going to be focused on, San Pietro, which makes total sense. And if you've got a bit of historic data which you're going to fill in the gaps with and come and talk about that, that's brilliant. With Paraguay and Argentina, if you're finishing things off there with the hope of bringing someone in to the party, that makes a lot of sense too. But if you're hoping to advance all three on a 20, albeit with $15 million in the bank, it's kind of like, can they do it? Have they got a big enough team?
Well, an important thing to understand is that from the time we look at a project like it's, for instance, in Argentina, the whole process of getting it, transferring the concessions, it takes a year. I mean, not like in other places where you can go out and stake property and start working on it. It takes a year till you can actually start working on it. So we have to have things in the hopper, like looking forward. Maybe we don't talk about them. Like I said, we've got a lot of things that we don't talk about because it can take, I mean, our project in Paraguay took a good year and a half before we could actually start working there. And so then everything moves at as quickly as we can, but especially, you wrap COVID on top of that, and some of the delays and problems we've had. But we'll continue to work on those. We're not spending. I mean, the drilling programs we were commitments we made, and they were in the process, and they could turn out to be wonderful. The best things ever. So we're not going to stop doing that or looking at those. But I think that it's important that the shareholders understand that this is where the main focus is, and this is how we plan to advance the company. And we've done that before, and I think that's an important thing to recognize as well.
Okay, fine. So just to clear, it says in the PowerPoint, completion of first drill program underway, done. And then what do you do with Argentina?
Well, on that particular deal, which was signed almost 8 months ago or a year ago, the agreement was that within the first year we had to drill 2,000 meters. So we're completing part of that drill thing that was started long before we even started looking at San Pietro. And so that first drill program was, we've started that a couple of weeks ago, and we finished it in another couple of weeks. And then we'll have to wait for the assays, and we'll make a decision.
Okay. Decision to do what?
Well, whether we're going to continue working on it with our people, or whether we're going to sell it or give it back to the owner. We have to make those decisions, but we've got money invested in it, and the time. Again, it's the time. It takes a long time to get to that point, and so you want to make sure if it doesn't have value, you do that. If somebody else can come in,
I'm more than conscious of that, and that's why I'm kind of poking you a little bit on it, because I want your time is really valuable, so I want to make sure I understand where it's being spent. And then, so just finish off one. Then Paraguay, it says in the PowerPoint, follow-up program after receipt and interpretation of recent diamond drill program results. Again, is that a case of you've got to assess what you've got and what you're going to do with that, in the same as Argentina?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. I mean, when we make these deals, there's basically stretched over 5 or 6 years, and they've got different payments after the first year. Like, we've got a commitment now of making $500,000 payment in Paraguay. And so you got to look, okay, so we're going to have to finish the drill program and then make this payment. So you got to be able to justify doing that in the next step. And so we've been, again, the COVID has caused us, a lot of grief and things not gone. It just seems like everybody in Paraguay got it one different day. So it's like a lot of delays with that, but we're now just getting our results back, and we'll have to evaluate and decide how we're going to proceed with that before we make next commitments. It's the exact same thing in the projects in Argentina. One of the very beautiful things, or one of the very good things about San Pietro, is that we paid cash. It's 100% ours. We're under no more obligations to make any kind of payments. We can progress now at the speed we want. And we have 18,000 hectares, and we're in the process of picking up more.
Okay, so San Pietro is what we should be judging you on this year. You've got the money to do a bunch of stuff. Look, stay in touch to let us know how you get on with that. It's exciting times in Chile, I think, copper especially, and with gold credits, it can't help either. So appreciate your time today, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I'd just like to leave your audience with a couple things that, when you're evaluating junior companies, what I tell people, or what people will tell you, or investors will tell you, is, the most important things to look at is track record. Have these people, they got good reputations? Have they done it before? Our company, we have done all that. We've got, I think I added up one time, over 150 years of experience between our directors and technical group. All very big successes, good resumes. And then you got to look geopolitically. Are they working in places where you can get things done? Do they know the area? Is there going to be problems? Well, you brought up the Chilean issue. I think we're going to be able to get through that. But all those steps along the way get evaluated. Are there good projects? I think all of our projects are company makers. We try to look at them and move on. And when we get an advanced project, as we do, we focus and try to do that, which is what been largely this conversation. And then, I think the last one is, can they do it? I mean, do they have the money? Do they have the wherewithal to get it done? I mean, we made this deal on San Pietro with just leveraging the price of the shares. That covered the thing. We still end up with our cash and shares at around $15 million in the bank. So we're, I think, on those three main things when looking at a junior company, it's great. I mean, then you wait back and you wait for that bonanza drill hole or whatever, which is really what moves your stock up. But you look at a company like this, and it's pretty hard to go wrong. It's going to happen. Just may take a little longer. So that's kind of what I'd like to leave everybody with.